Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Worship Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading an extensive number of verses. It even surpasses yesterday's extensive number of verses. So we'll be reading from the 9th canto, the 24th chapter. So it'll be verse 36 through the text, which is actually 3 verses in one, 53 to 55, and 53 is on the board. So I'm going to read the Sanskrit and the English translation and then come up to text 53 to 55. So you have a long time of listening or looking on the devices. It sort of reminds me of, sometimes one goes into places and they have neutral music that just goes on and on. Well, of course, this is not neutral, but it will be very long, the recitation of the verses. So text 36. Tarha Satyajana Ditaje Krishra Lokasya Bipyati Prapitamahastan Uvaham Pandurvai Satya Vikramaham. And the translation to text 36 is, because Kunti feared people's criticism, with great difficulty she had to give up her affection for her child. Unwillingly, she packed the child in a basket and let it float down the water of the river. O Maharaj Parikshit, your great-grandfather, the pious and chivalrous King Pandu, later married Kunti. Text 37. Shruta devam tu karusho vrita sharma samagrahit yasyam abuds danta vakra rishi shapta dite shutaham. And the translation to text 37. Vritarashrena, the king of Karusha, married Kunti's sister, Shruta Devi, and from her womb, Dantavakra was born. Having been cursed by the sages, headed by Shanaka, Dantavakra had formerly been born as the son of Diti named Hiranyaksha. Text 38. Kaikeyo dritakituscha shruta kirtima vindata santardana dayastasyam panchasan kaikaya shrutaha. And the translation for text 38. King Drishtaketu, the king of Kakaya, married Shrutakirti, another sister of Kunti's. Shrutakirti had 5 sons, headed by Santardana. Text 39. Rajadivyam Avanchyan Jayaseno Janistaha Dharma Goshas Chedi Rajaha Shrutashravasham Agrahit. And the translation for text 39. Through the womb of Rajadi Devi, another sister of Kunti's, Jayasena begot 2 sons named Vinda and Anuvinda. Similarly, the king of the Chedi state married Shrutashrava. This king's name was Damagosha. Text 40. Shishupala Sutastasya Shatitastasya Sambhavaha Deva Bhagasya Kamashayam Chitraketu Brihad Balau. And the translation for text 40. The son of Shrutashvara was Shishupal, whose birth has already been described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vasudev's brother, named Devabhaga, had 2 sons born of his wife Kamsa. These 2 sons were Chitraketu and Brihad Bala. Text 41. Kamsavatyani Devashravashaham Suvira Ishumam Statam Bakaha Kankatsu Kankayam Satyajit Purujit Satam. And the translation for text 41. Vasudev's brother, named Devashrava, married Kamsavati, by whom he begot 2 sons, named Suvira and Ishuman. Kanka, by his wife Kanka, begot 3 sons, named Baka, Satyajit, and Purujit. Text 42. Shrajayo Rastrapalyam cha Rishta Durmarshana Dikshan Harikesha Hiranyaksha Shura Bhumyam cha Shyamakaha. And the translation for text 42. King Srijaya, by his wife Rastrapalika, begot sons headed by Risha and Durmarashana. King Shyamaka, by his wife Surabhumi, begot 2 sons named Hirshikesh and Hiranyaksha. So text 44. No, 43. Text 43. Mishra Keshyam Aparashi Virdadin Vatsakas Tata Taksha Pushkara Shatadin Durvakshyam Vrika Ada Dadhe. The translation for text 43. Thereafter, King Vatsaka, by the womb of his wife Mishra Keshi, who was an Apsara, begot sons headed by Vrika. Vrika, by his wife, Durvakshi, begot Taksha, Pushkara, Shala, and so on. Text 44. Sumitrarjuna Paladin, Samikatsu Sudamani, Anakaha Karnikayan, by Ritadama Jayan Api. And the translation for text 44. From Samika, by the womb of his wife Sudamani, came Sumitra, Arjunapala, and other sons. King Anaka, by his wife Karnika, begot 2 sons, namely Ritadama and Jaya. Text 45. Horavi Rohini Bhadra Madira Rochana Ila Devaki Pramukhascha San Patnya Anakadundube. And the translation for text 45. Devaki, Horavi, Rohini, Bhadra, Madira, Rochana, Ila, and others were all wives of Anakadandubi Vasudev. Among them all, Devaki was the chief. Text 46. Balam Gadam Saranam Cha Durmadam Vipulam Dhruvam Vasudevastu Rohinyam Kirtadin Utapadayat. And the translation for text 46. Vasudev, by the womb of his wife Rohini, begot sons such as Bala, Gada, Sarana, Durmada, Vipula, Dhruva, Krita, and others. And text 47 through 48. Subhadro Bhadrabahuscha Durmado Bhadra Evacha Horavyas Tanaya Evacha Bhutadya Davadasa Bhavan Nando Pananda Kritaka Surajya Madiratmaja Koshalya Keshinam Tu Ekam Asuta Kula Nandanam. And the translation for text 47 through 48. From the womb of Poravi came 12 sons, including Bhuta, Subhadra, Bhadrabahu, Durmada, and Bhadra, Nanda, Upananda, Kritaka, Sura, and others were born from the womb of Madira. Bhadra, Kamsalya, gave birth to only one son named Keshi. Text 49. Rochanayam Stojalam Hasta Hemanga Dagadayaham Ilayam Urval Kadin Yadomukyan Ajijanat. And the translation to text 49. Vasudev, by another of his wives, whose name was Rochana, begot Hasta, Hemangada, and other sons. And by his wife named Ila, he begot sons headed by Uruvalka, all of whom were chief personalities in the dynasty of Yadu. Text 50. Viprishto Dirta Devayam Eka Anan Kandundubihe Shanti Devatamaya Rajan Prashama Prasitidayaha. Text 50. Translation. From the womb of Dritadeva, one of the wives of Anakandundubi, Vasudev, came a son named Viprishta. The sons of Shantideva, another wife of Vasudev, were Prasanna, Prasita, and others. Text 51. Rajanya Kalpa Vashadya Upadeva Sutadasha Vasu Hamsa Suvamshadyaha Sri Devayastu Satsutaham. The translation for text 51. Vasudeva also had a wife named Upadeva, from whom came 10 sons headed by Rajanyu, Kalpa, and Varsha. From Sri Deva, another wife, came 6 sons, such as Vasu, Hamsa, and Suvamsa. Text 52. Devarakshitaya labdham Navachatra Gadadayaham Vasudeva Sutan Asta Vastade Sahadevayam. The translation for text 52. By the semen of Vasudeva in the womb of Devarakshita, 9 sons were born, headed by Gada. Vasudeva, who was religion personified, also had a wife named Sahadeva, by whose womb he begot 8 sons, headed by Shruta and Pravara. And finally we come to text 53 to 55. So 53 is on the board and we can chant responsively. And then after that I'll read the remainder, 54 and 55. Pravara Shruta Mukhayamsha Shakshat Dharmo Varshunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Asta Putra Naji Janat Pravara Shruta Mukhayamscha Shakshat Dharmo Vasunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Asta Putranaji Janat Pravara Shrutra Mukhyamscha Shakshat Dharmo Vasunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Asta Putranaji Janat. Please chant. Pravara Shruta Mukhyamscha Shakshat Dharmo Vasunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Vasaputra Naji Janat Pravara Shruta Mukhyamscha Shakshat Dharmo Vasunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Asta Putra Naji Janat Pravara Shruta Mukhyamscha Shakshat Dharmo Vasunivam Vasudevastu Devakyam Asta Putra Naji Janat. Okay. So continuing with text 54. Kirtimantam Shushenam Cham Vadrasenam Udaradihi Rujun Samardanam Badram Sankarshan Ahishvaram Astamastu Tayorasit Svayam Eva Hari Kila Subhadra Cha Mahabhaga Tavarajan Pitamahi. So the translation, for texts 53 through 55. Oh, I should do the word for word. I'll just do the word for 53 that's on the board. Pravara. In some readings, Povara. Shruta. Mukyan. Headed by Sham and Shakshat, directly. Dharmaham, religion personified. Vasunivam, exactly like the chief Vasus in the heavenly kingdom. Vasudevam, Srila Vyasadeva, the father of Krishna. To, indeed, Devakyan, in the womb of Devaki. Asta, 8. Putran, sons. Ajijanat, beget. Okay. Yes, it was begot. So not past tense. Okay. So I'll read the translation. The 8 sons born of Sahadev, such as Pravara and Shruta, were exact incarnations of the 8 Vasus in the heavenly planets. Vasudev also begot 8 highly qualified sons through the womb of Devaki. These included Kirtiman, Shushena, Bhadrashena, Rija, Samardana, Bhadra, and Sankarshan, the controller and serpent incarnation. The 8th son was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna. The highly fortunate Subhadra, the one daughter, was your grandmother. Purport. The 55th verse says, Swayam eva hari kila, indicating that Krishna, the 8th son of Devaki, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is not an incarnation. Although there is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari and his incarnation, Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the complete Godhead. Incarnations exhibit only a certain percentage of the potencies of Godhead. The complete Godhead is Krishna himself, who appeared as the 8th son of Devaki. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Ramapadaswami Iti Namine. Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so we're continuing with the breakdown. So going back a little bit, it was King Sura and his queen Marisha who had begot 10 sons, one of which was Vasudev, or yes. And the others were Devashrava, Anaka, Srinjaya, Shyamaka, Kanka, Samika, Vatsaka, and Vrika. There were also 5 daughters. So I'm tracing this back because it'll lead into where we've come today. There were also 5 daughters of King Sura and Queen Marisha, and those were Prita, and yesterday this was pointed out, who came to be known as Kunti, because she was adopted by King Kunti, since King Sura gave this particular daughter, Prita, to his childless friend, King Kunti. And then there was also Shrutadeva, Shrutakirti, Shrutashvara, and Rajadi Devi. And you may recognize the names from having read today's verses. So these were the 5 daughters that came from King Shura and his queen Marisha. So there's a breakdown in the section that we've read today of the sons that are begot by Kunti. So now she's one of the 5 sisters that came from King Sura and Queen Marisha. And so this breakdown begins with the sons that were begot by Kunti's sisters, so the 5 sisters, and their respective husbands. So in each case, they married a particular king. So, for example, King Pandu married Kunti, and we remember from just a little while back, we were reading who King Pandu is, that he was one of the children that Srila Vyasadeva begot in the womb of Ambalika, the queen of his half-brother, Vichitravirya. So we remember that from just a short while back. And now going on to the other sisters of Kunti. Shrutadeva is a sister, and she was married by King Vritasharma, and their son was Dantavakra. Now, this is very interesting because right away, you know, one is expecting to hear glorious personalities, and this particular son, immediately on the second listing of the sister of Kunti, this Shrutadeva and King Vritasharma, the son that they produced, Dantavakra, is actually labeled as a godless atheist. And he's categorized, he's put into the same category as Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, and Ravana. And so actually in a previous life, this Dantavakra was actually Hiranyaksha, who was born in the dynasty of Bali Maharaj. So now he's been born in the Yadu dynasty. He was taking birth in the Yadu dynasty, Dantavakra, but he was Hiranyaksha in Bali Maharaj's dynasty. And he is described, there's just a brief description. So anything we know of this personality from the previous life is that he was carrying only his own club. He wandered the globe alone, without assistance, to conquer all directions, and no hero he met could rival him. So very powerful, but in Bali Maharaj's dynasty. So that's the previous birth. And here he is, he's arriving in this birth as one of the children of one of Kunti's sisters. So, and this was from the 8th canto. In the 19th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear about this personality. And Lord Vamanadev, he describes this personality, Hiranyaksha, or that was his description, I should say. That was Lord Vamanadev describing Hiranyaksha. So just that very brief description. And because he's categorized as falling into this category of a godless atheist, we have that category also described by Krishna, who are these 4 like entities that epitomize godless atheists. So this is Krishna's description. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence into various demoniac species of life. So this is very interesting. Krishna's saying that perpetually those particular personalities remain in a demoniac species. But here we're hearing that, you know, Hiranyaksha has actually taken birth as Dantavakra, and is in the family of one of Kunti's sisters. So Now, one of the things that we can comprehend just based on Krishna saying that he maintains or he chooses the particular birth that those personalities take, and he keeps them in the demoniac species of life. It's actually Krishna's prerogative, the particular birth that's accorded. And the verse I read was from 1619. The reason Krishna has this prerogative is if somebody doesn't choose to accept Krishna's supremacy, they're not willing to accept Krishna's supremacy and choose to act entirely on their own whims. So naturally, Krishna's in that position. It's his prerogative. He keeps them in a demoniac species of life. Now, that was one sister. There's another sister of Prita or Kunti, and that's Rajadi Devi. She was married by King Jayasena, and they begot two sons, Vinda and Anuvinda. And it's very interesting, in this verse, when you read it, there's just one word. It says Avantyao. And I found it interesting because in the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he immediately says Avantyao refers to two sons, Vinda and Anuvinda, and Srila Prabhupada puts that here too. So there's a third sister of Kunti, so that's Shrutasrava, and she has a son named Shishupal. So, the picture's beginning to emerge. Kunti's sisters are having these particular personalities that we recognize fall into the demoniac category. So he's described, this is the description of Shishupal, from the very beginning of his childhood, when he couldn't even speak properly. Shishupal, the most powerful son of Dhammaghosha, so it was King Dhammaghosha and Kunti's other sister, Rajadi Devi, he began blaspheming the Lord, and he continued to be envious of Sri Krishna until death. So that's a description given of Shishupal. So, and continuing that description, this is from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, his brother Dantavakra, that we've just heard about, he continued the same habits. So, cousins, and they united in this, in these particular habits of constantly blaspheming Lord Krishna. Now, there's a section in the Bhagavatam that looks at, these two personalities, and Maharaj Yudhisthira, he finds it very interesting, one thing. So I'm going to read what he says about these two personalities. And he's talking to Narada Muni. So he says, although these two men, Shishupal and Dantavakra, repeatedly blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, they were quite healthy. So this is Yudhisthira talking, King Yudhisthira. Indeed, their tongues were not attacked by white leprosy, nor did they enter the darkest of hellish life. We are certainly most surprised by this. So this is Yudhisthira. He's a little bit surprised, why didn't they, they get some disease of the tongue, the leprosy starts eating the tongue. So we find in Lord Chaitanya's pastime somebody who's sort of blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and leprosy is obtained. So Yudhisthira makes that connection. So he says they're blaspheming. Why aren't their tongues being struck by leprosy? And he's noticing they're quite healthy. Both of these personalities were perfectly healthy, Shishupal and Dantavakra. This is in the 7th canto in the 1st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the explanation that's given is that in a former lifetime, Shishupal and Dantavakra were Jai and Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha. And although if one blasphemes the Lord, his punishment is to remain in hellish life for many millions of years, even more than one would be suffering were one to have killed many brahmanas. But in Shishupal's case, instead of entering into hellish life, he actually easily received liberation, Sahuja Mukti. So Maharaj Yudhisthira is very surprised by all of this. So the explanation is just the particular curse that was cast upon these two personalities. So they had to live out the curse going through these demoniac births. So Narada Muni gives an explanation. So I'm trying to fill in something of the personalities in this breakdown. So this is particularly focusing on the sisters of Kunti and their marriages and what children were produced. So Narada Muni gives an explanation which challenges this underlying assumption of Maharaj Yudhisthira, which he expresses. He says, because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. So Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme controller, the super soul of all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus, he has no enemy and no friend. So, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Narada Muni, who's his spiritual master, is instructing him that he's actually thinking a little bit in terms of the body by thinking that actually Krishna would be affected in some way by the insults of Shishupal and Dantavakra. And he says that basically, because Krishna doesn't have that kind of conception of me and mine, therefore, if he's insulted or even if he's worshipped or prayed to, it's equivalent to him. He's not actually feeling pleasure or pain. This is how Narada Muni explains to Yudhisthira Maharaj. So he's trying to break, which is what a spiritual master does, tries to break into the concepts one has that are very much connected to one's identity of oneself as being either the physical body or the ego part or the mind. And so in this case, it's breaking down that ego conception that in some way there's insult felt by Krishna because of being insulted by Shishupal. Narada Muni actually says, no, actually Krishna's experiencing neither pain in that case or pleasure were he to have been praised through prayer. It's equivalent to him because he's not holding that egotistical conception of self. And then Narada Muni also explains to Yudhisthira Maharaj that when he chastises the demons, it's actually for their own good. And when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is also for their own good. So he means he's neither affected by praise nor blasphemy. So this is the view given by Narada Muni to deal with Maharaj Yudhisthira's assumption, which was that actually these two demoniac entities should have literally had their tongues been eaten up by leprosy, and why wasn't it happening? So actually, it seems the problem was more Maharaj Yudhisthira having some sort of conception of body, and then Narada Muni having to clarify Krishna's actually been untouched by blasphemy. Then there's, it continues, the section that we've read. There's a breakdown of the children begot by Vasudev's brothers. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there's just one line. It's in his commentary on Bhagavatam, it's exactly as was pointed out yesterday, this, all these great personalities, they don't get up there, a big write-up because it would take up so much space. It's the same thing in the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. No commentary except one difference, and that's this one. He actually, one commentary, he says, there's a description of the wives of his 9 brothers, meaning Srila Vasudev, Maharaj Vasudev. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says there's a description of the wives of his 9 brothers and their children in 9.5 verses. That's his only commentary, nothing else. That's in the Sarita Darshini commentary. So one thing I just noticed in those 9.5 verses is that Vasudev's brother, King Shamaka, by his wife Surabhumi, he begot 2 sons named Harikesh and Hiranyaksha. So because we've just heard who Hiranyaksha is, and it was from a previous birth of Dantavakra, we know it's not that Hiranyaksha. So that's the only thing I noticed in this particular breakdown. It's not the same personality, this Hiranyaksha that was born of one of Vasudev's brothers, King Shamaka. Because we know that actually that particular breakdown is that Hiranyaksha is not this Hiranyaksha, is not the same Hiranyaksha as that one of Satya Yuga, because it was actually that Hiranyaksha became Hiranyakashipu, who became Ravana, and Kumbhakarna in Tetra Yuga, and then it was in Dvapara Yuga, so just prior to our Yuga, that we find Shishupal and Dantavakra, the same personalities. So that's the continuance of birth, and it reinforces that statement of Krishna's in Bhagavad Gita that, you know, he perpetually casts demoniac entities in demoniac species of life, although in this particular case, it's truncated because of the fact that it was a specific curse. They originally are doorkeepers in Vaikuntha, but at least it's continuing, you know, one sees the extreme demoniac personality being an extreme demoniac personality over 3 yugas. So very interesting. Now, in the following breakdown, there are the wives of Vasudev. So those 9.5 verses are out of the way, no commentary except for that one. Then the next breakdown is the wives of Vasudev and their progeny. So as descendants in the Yadu dynasty, there's mention of his wife Ela, because she begot sons headed by Uruvalka, and they were considered to be chief personalities in the Yadu dynasty. So that was in the 49th verse. And then the interesting thing is, remember right in the beginning I brought up that Queen Marisha and her husband, they had produced those 5 daughters. So here we hear some of those daughters, they actually all get married to Vasudev. In fact, 3 of them are listed. So these are the sisters of Devaki. So there's Drita Deva and Devakshita. And Devakshita has 9 sons headed by Gada. So these are all sons of Vasudev. There's Sahadeva, another sister of Devaki, 8 sons. And Upadeva, 10 sons, begot by Ranjanya, headed by Ranjanya, sorry. So we've seen the number of sons of Vasudev, it's quite large. I mean, even if you count just from the 3 sisters of Devaki, there's 27 sons, and then come her 8 sons, which brings it to 35. When I was very young, I remember it was common to hear of people having 10 or 11 children. It was, I think, during the 40s, the 1940s, the 1950s, 1930s, and earlier, it was not unusual for people to have 10, 11 children. I mean, even in our society in just the previous century. But 35, it needs a longer lifespan, clearly, to be able to have that many children. So this was in the Devapara Yuga. So hence the possibility. So already we're hearing of 35 sons. So in the womb of Devaki, Vasudeva begot 8 sons. And it said that these sons were equal to the Vasus. Now, actually, it was Vasu who produced 8 sons, known as the Vasus. And they are named, so these are the personalities that there's a comparison with. They are named Drona, Prana, Dhruva, Arka, Agni, Dosha, Vastu, and Vibhavasu. That's from the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna himself, he says that of the Vasus, he is Agni. So very great personalities. And so Vasudev's sons through Devaki, they compare to these Vasus. And Krishna is particularly highlighting Agni as one of the Vasus and says that of the Vasus, he's Agni. And he mentions that in Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, 23rd verse. So Vasudev's sons through the womb of Devaki were married. Vasudev's sons through the womb of Devaki were named. So these are the sons. These were their names. Kirtiman, Shushena, Bhadrasena, Riju, Samardana, Bhadra, and Sankarshan. So these are the brothers of the 8th son who comes, who's Krishna. So Sankarshan, the 7th son, is actually, it's mentioned here as a serpent incarnation. So I was just reflecting on the fact that Srimad Bhagavatam is so extraordinary because we're getting that interplay between the heavenly realm, the earthly realm, and here we're actually hearing a serpent incarnation as coming from Vasudeva through Devaki. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Leela, in the 5th section, there's mention who Sankarshan is, and this is how he's defined. He's understood to be the support for all jivas. So imagine the extraordinary personality that's just preceded Lord Krishna. He, Sankarshan, is the shelter of everything. He's wonderful in every respect, and his opulences are infinite. So that's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Sankarshan is described. So that Sankarshan is an expansion of pure goodness, and he's an expansion of Nityananda Balaram. So that's who that personality is. And then comes Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So he's the 8th son of Devaki and Vasudeva. So finally, all this has led to the appearance of Lord Krishna. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. And here Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that this is Krishna himself. So it's not an incarnation who appears as the 8th son of Devaki. It's Krishna himself. And since this was a very long reading and many names, and I've thought to read from the Bhagavad Purana. It's actually in poetic form, and it describes Krishna as the source of all incarnations. And this is a translation by Kalakanta Das. So it's the Bhagavad Purana, and I'm just going to read it. It's rather beautifully put because it's very concise. So after reading this extensive narration, I'm just going to do something very concise. Conceiving this mundane creation, Krishna has designed both actions and reactions bouncing back and forth through time. On seeing us entangled in our karma and travail, the Lord will often visit as a king might a jail. So this, in very cryptic, poetic form, will lead into what's coming, which will be an explanation of why Krishna has come. So, in fact, the particular world that we're residing in is going on because every living entity is actually a part and parcel of Lord Krishna, is utilizing the material energy. And so it means that they're under the grip of material energy. So I had this experience recently because, you know, there's some shopping that had to be done for furnishing a new apartment. So the minute one starts acquiring one little object, it awakens the whole serpent. One starts thinking of combination objects, or at least my mind does, combination objects. So I feel it's like you get caught in the grip of material energy because it captures the mind, just the focus on something material. So, and of course, the particular body that each of us has is the result of the conditioned soul's activities. And because the super soul is the supporter of one's activities, it means that the super soul is the true reality, because the super soul is supporting what activities one can perform. And now, because one is revolving in the cycle of birth and death, under the direction of the Supreme Lord, just like, you know, we heard how he's controlled the birth of those two demoniac entities. So one can offer obeisances, or very respectful obeisances, to the central reality, who's permitting everything, the super soul. So in actual fact, one shouldn't be misguided by the activities of the material world and forget that central point, the Supreme Lord. So I think that's what came across to me from reading this little section. And I'll continue the poem, or in poetic form, from the Bhagavad Purana. As blazing fire permeates the wood that it consumes, Lord Krishna, as the super soul, pervades this world of doom. He seems to be so many, though in fact he's only one, just as 1,000 water pots reflect a single sun. So, in the end, it comes to that within the heart of every soul, the super soul observes the soul pursuing matter and the trouble that one incurs from doing that. So even Dantavakra and Hiranyaksha, it's considered that they performed a fruitive act by insulting the four Kumaras that led to that curse of them being cast into this material world. So hence, here we are in this world of doom. And anytime we pursue matter, the super soul's observing all the trouble that gets incurred. So those are some thoughts that came from this section. We've actually hit it exactly on the dot, 8:30. If there's some comment within the next 5 minutes, so I don't delay everybody, since I know it was very perhaps arduous hearing, although extremely pious account, many names.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji, for a nice description. I'm very much happy to listen to your class. Same person in the different millennium, they are coming, I mean, in different yugas, they are coming as a enemy of the Lord. So, but here is Srila Rupa Goswami describing that mukti, you know, that bhava-baddha chidetai spriyamina muktaye bhavan vir aham dasha iti yatra vilupaye. So here is he is saying that those who are, you know, if there's a 5 kinds of mukti, liberation. They already got mukti when you know, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha killed by Nishingadev and Varaha. So they already got mukti. Again, how they can come here in different yugas? Even Ravana, when killed by Rama, he already got delivered, because there's a description by Rupa Goswami that Sayuja Mukti is there, that to merge into the body of the Lord directly, like Shishupal, okay, and considered even more ghastly by the devotee, because when you merge in the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, some great devotee can come there and save you and make you qualified to go to home Vaikuntha planet directly, serve the Lord. But when the soul merges in the body of Lord, the soul is doomed to never achieve direct devotional service to the Lord. So here is, they are indirectly, they are even indirectly they are doing directly seva in front of the Lord. They are blaspheming to the Lord. It's Lord was taking as a devotional service, So how is it possible that they already got a mukti? Again, how can they come here?
This is a very insightful question and very logical. So the question is, here we have these personalities that are demoniac, and they're appearing in different yugas. But from the description of liberation and the 5 kinds of liberation, the one example that was given was Shishupal, Sahuja Mukti, merging into the body of Krishna, invisible actually to everybody, I'll add. Then since it's liberation, and the description that was read was that actually in that liberated stage, say it's the Brahmani effulgence, I'll add, there's actually, it requires a devotee to come, and that person could then begin devotional service. But the question is, if the persons are liberated, how is it that they're actually coming again in a different yuga, again in this material world? Because liberation implies liberation from this material world, and meaning, so very interesting question, very logical. So the liberation into the Brahmani effulgence it's considered impersonal liberation. So say in the case of Shishupal, as you pointed out, he appears, Krishna took it that some service has been rendered, of course, in a very unfavorable way, because it's, the description was even from a child. He's constantly blaspheming Lord Krishna. So, but that makes sense that Krishna took it as some service, because we heard how Krishna doesn't actually feel pain from that kind of blaspheming, and neither does he feel pleasure. It's just very neutral. He accepts there's some recognition in the relationship, even though it's negative recognition. So that kind of liberation would imply that the fruitive activities of the particular personality have ended. It means that their mentality, that they want to get a particular result, should have ended. So in Shishupal's case, he's wanting to kill Krishna. Dantavakra, same thing, they're completely envious. But then but here we find that they're actually returning 2 more times. So where does that liberation stand? And that's the question, is it not over? Is their mentality not ended? Because that's what's causing the being in the material world. It's the mentality of wanting to get a particular result. So, well, one thing to be said is that they were subject to a curse. And Krishna always fulfills the words of his particular devotee. So those personalities had to live out the curse all the way. And it would appear also that the desire, the negative desire remains. And that's what we know from the impersonal liberation. There's still at some point desire emerges again. one's not free from desire. So it appears that the mentality has got cleansed in the case of these personalities, but the desire remains. Because it's only devotional service that can actually change mentality and bring about a transformation. So they were not free of that desire. And also Krishna has, which was the verse that I read, he has the prerogative. He can choose if he wants those, how long he wants those persons to stay there, and if he wants them to be remain in liberated state. But his prerogative was to give them, fulfill the curse, put them again in 2 demoniac bodies, in 2 other yugas. They had a very long time that they had to pay for their particular blaspheme of devotees trying to enter Vaikuntha, meaning the 4 Kumaras. So the answer is Krishna's choice, fulfilling the words of his devotee, and also that the desire, the demoniac desire doesn't change. It requires devotional service to change that. And in fact, actually, it seems even according to Bhagavad Gita that the demoniac category remains demoniac perpetually. That's what Krishna says, perpetually. In their case, they're fortunate. It was 3 yugas, huge length of time, but 3 yugas, and then they were allowed to return to their position of devotional service. So, yeah, that's the response.
Yeah, still there's I'm not that much intelligence. That's why I have another doubt that for the info, they were not a favor of the devotional service, Shishupal and Dantava, whatever, and they killed by Krishna, and they got different liberation, different kinds of, not samipya. Samipya is close to Krishna, always they can see. But we can see the Putana who wanted to kill Krishna, how she can, get Goloka Vrindavan as a mother. So she also wanted to kill Krishna. So
this is very interesting. Okay, so here's a further elaboration of the question. We've got another demoniac entity which we're going to come to. So Putana, how is it that she actually, it wasn't just merely impersonal liberation, she actually entered Goloka, so how's that possible? And I think that's the crux of the matter, is desire. There was some desire to actually provide some direct service. I'm going to offer this milk to this baby. Of course, it's poisoned milk, being a demoniac entity, and desire to kill, but with that desire to kill was the desire of, I'm offering this milk coming from me to this baby, and this baby is actually very beautiful. This baby is actually very powerful, but I'm going to offer milk to this baby. So just that desire is what allowed the transcendence, how I think I would understand. And of course, Krishna's great benediction, because he has the prerogative of, what particular birth the person will take. So Krishna's decision. So it fits.
Here I will read something from Advaitavada school.
From where?
Where they explain about his question. I don't know whether it will be true or not. Atma is the soul or the self that is identical with Brahma. It is not part of Brahma that ultimately dissolve into Brahma, but the whole Brahma itself. Atma is alone. When its reflection falls on avidya, it becomes the jiva and experience the world existence through the senses. So difficult.
Okay. So
difficult. Sorry? From
Where are you reading
Advaitavada
from?
school.
Karuna Nidhi Prabhu, we'd like the reference. Where are you reading from?
Yeah, Advaitavada school, school of Advaitavada.
Okay. So the verse that was read, or the section that was read, was just an explanation of how ignorance comes to cover the soul, and that the soul is Brahman or spirit. And hence, because of ignorance covering the soul, then one is a jiva. Thank you.
So, actually, when we are searching, so many things is coming. But Advaitavad, it's not belong to ISKCON and our Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, I think we should not talk about that.
All right, so we are having, just for the general cleansing of the atmosphere and for anything transmitted into cyberspace, we also want that to be clean and to be known, that it's highlighted that this particular section that was read is coming from impersonal philosophy. We want it wiped out. It is the general consensus. Thank you very much. We're all personalists and pay our respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
This lecture. Actually, that's what I told is not be true, because this is a Mayavada philosophy. But Srila Prabhupada explained very nice way that how that means he gave one example, like there is a parrot, okay? His color is green and he is sitting on the tree, you know. You cannot distinguish whether a parrot is sitting or not, but still it is there. Prabhupada gave a very nice example. Similarly, so, and also Prabhupada said, like because we are the part and parcel of Krishna, it's just like a blazing fire, you know. We are the spark of that fire. And he is a Paramatma, the big, you know, in quantity sense, he is vast. We are the very minute. As long as we are attached to that, we have existence. As soon as we come out, we don't have. This fire is extinguished, like, you know, small spark of the big fire.
So,
Sure. That way.
okay, so to bring it back to Vedic philosophy, what was expressed was the actual position of the soul, and the metaphor that's used in the Vedas is that the individual spirit soul is like a small spark of the greater blazing fire that's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so thank you for the correction. We appreciate. And you also pointed out that it's attachment or breaking of attachment that allows, I guess allows was the word, I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but you mentioned something from the perspective of attachment of the individual soul. But yes, the attachment is what keeps one bound to this world. And I think that's something of what's going to lead into the next verse of why it is that Krishna's come. Because he's designed this material world in such a way that actually one is going through those actions and reactions, and the super soul is permitting it because that was the desire of the particular personality or persons, but the super soul has seen the trouble it's causing. So we're going to see some of the trouble that particular personalities try to cause and how Krishna takes care of it in his personal form. So thank you very much.
Point. And the thing is, on yeah, time over. Yeah, I know, just one example. In the Bhagavad Gita, you see in Virat Roop, what happens? All the living, when Krishna exhibited his Virat Roop, you know, at that time everybody is coming into his mouth, entering, all living entities.
Yeah, that goes into a whole other topic, so I'll leave that one because it's not directly related to this, but thank you for the contribution. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.